As we meet here in New York at the UN General Assembly for this Summit of the Future, we're at a global inflection point. Faced with escalating instability undermining the very foundations of the international order, beset by the increasingly dire costs of climate change, contending with rising inequality that is leaving the most vulnerable behind, plagued by the erosion of women's rights, LGBT+ rights, and Indigenous rights, and grappling with dire humanitarian crises perpetuating record levels of displacement, we have a choice. On the one hand, we can bury our heads in the sand, eschewing multilateralism in favor of short-sighted self-interest, or we can recognize that collectively we have a responsibility to set our differences aside, to confront the serious global challenges, and to deliver on a pact for the future that builds a more peaceful world, but also one where everyone, every generation, has a real and fair shot. In Canada, that's what we are squarely focused on. As I travel across my country, Canadians of all walks of life, but particularly young Canadians, tell me that they're worried. They're worried about the state of the world and the future. But most importantly, they're worried about the very promise of Canada. The promise that if you work hard, you can do better than the generations that preceded you. That promise is slipping out of reach, so as a government, we are stepping up. The solution to anxiety and angst is not to deceive and deflect, but to take action. We know that confident, successful countries invest in their citizens, in their workers, in their middle class, in national $10 a day childcare that saves families money while ensuring women can choose the best path for themselves, in nutritious school meals so our kids can focus on learning and growing, in an ambitious housing plan that will deliver good, abundant, and affordable homes, in a national dental care program that in its first months has already delivered quality care to 750,000 Canadians, in a growth and industrial strategy that creates good-paying, community-building, middle-class jobs, all while fighting climate change. These are choices that deliver on the promise of Canada for every generation. These choices reflect a commitment to investing in our people and in our future, but also a commitment to tackle global problems that we all share. Les changements climatiques.
Climate change and inflation don't stop at borders. Inequality is a problem for the entire world, for people from all walks of life. If we really want to serve our own citizens, we must together tackle the great global challenges. We should work within institutions such as the United Nations and renew our commitment to the Sustainable Development Agenda for 2030. We need to protect and support the rule of law and democratic values. We should spearhead efforts to reform in the international financial institutions. We must put women's and girls' rights at the very heart of our efforts, much like we have done with our feminist international assistance policy. We must recognise also that rich countries such as Canada have a duty to fight climate change, which is what we're doing through our commitment of $5 billion towards global climate financing efforts. And we are the first big oil and gas producing country to establish an emission ceiling in this sector.
Delegates, nearly 80 years ago, in the aftermath of the most destructive war in our collective history, we formed these United Nations. And we did so with the aspiration to build something better for today's generations, yes, but also for many generations to come. All of us gathered here have an opportunity to hold true to that mission, to fulfill the promise of our pact for the future, to deliver fairness for every generation. Merci.